All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going on a seriously fast-paced, behind-the-scenes journey through a typical day in a restaurant kitchen. I mean, we all love dining out, right? But have you ever stopped to think about the massive, highly orchestrated effort that goes into keeping your meals safe? We're going to unpack the official food safety guidelines to discover exactly how food establishments outsmart bacteria, literally from the second ingredients hit the loading dock all the way to the final wipe down at night.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To really get how this operation works, we first need to meet our two kitchen heroes. First up, we have the food handler, or FH. These are your chefs, your line cooks, the staff actually touching and prepping the food. But they definitely don't work alone. Enter the person in charge, the PIC. The PIC is the watchful supervisor, kind of like the quality manager who makes absolutely sure every single hygiene rule is actually happening out on the floor.
So here's our game plan for this shift. 1. The morning delivery. 2. Prep and personal hygiene. 3. Cooking and the danger zone. 4. Safe display and serving. And finally, 5. Closing time and cleaning. Let's get to it.
Number 1. The morning delivery. Let's start the clock. It's 7 a.m., the delivery truck is backing up to the dock, and our shift has officially begun.
Right off the bat, you'll see this really cool contrast in teamwork. The food handler, they're getting their hands dirty, actively checking the physical state of the incoming goods. But meanwhile, the person in charge is hovering over the systems, right? They're making sure the suppliers are fully approved and handling any headaches if a delivery just isn't up to standard.
Now 5 degrees to 65 degrees Celsius. Remember those numbers, because this is our daily villain, the danger zone. The guidelines are honestly incredibly clear about this. This specific temperature range is exactly where pathogenic bacteria just absolutely thrive and multiply. So our hero's main job all day long, constantly outsmarting the danger zone, minimizing the time any food spends anywhere near these numbers.
And because of that danger zone, the loading dock inspection is no joke. The food handler doesn't just, look at the food. They actually verify that the delivery vehicle itself is clean. I mean, you don't want chemicals sitting right next to the fresh lettuce. They're checking for undamaged packaging, confirming expiration dates, and temping everything right as it comes off the truck. Because if a delivery truck is dirty, cross-contamination happens before the food even crosses the threshold.
Which brings us to a supercritical control number, minus 18 degrees Celsius. Frozen goods have to be at or below this temp when they arrive, like rock solid. But here's the catch. Once they're received, the team has to hustle. They've got to get those frozen goods into the freezer so fast that their internal temp doesn't creep above 5 degrees. They're literally stopping the danger zone clock before it even starts ticking.
Moving on to part 2, prep and personal hygiene. The delivery is safely put away. Let's bump the clock forward to 9 a.m. Morning prep is starting, and now we shift our focus to the strict rules governing the staff themselves.
Look, we humans are basically walking sources of physical and biological hazards. So check out this rapid-fire breakdown of uniform rules. The uniform has to be spotless, and it's heavily recommended to be a light color. Why? Well, light colors show dirt instantly. You literally cannot hide a dirty uniform. Hairnets? Absolute requirements. No watches, no jewelry that could magically fall into your soup. Nails have to be short, clean, and entirely unpolished. And if they switch to a high-risk task like raw meat, boom, a disposable apron goes right over that clean uniform. And all these uniform rules feed right into what they do most, washing their hands. But this isn't just a quick splash under the faucet, okay? It is a highly precise 5-step sequence. Wet with warm water, apply bactericidal soap, and then, this is the big one, rubbing for a full 20 to 30 seconds. After a serious rinse, they have to dry with disposable tissues. The guidelines actually explicitly state that air dryers are not recommended here. This whole ritual has to happen perfectly before touching ready-to-eat foods, or after handling raw meat, or honestly, even just after touching their face.
All right, Section 3, Cooking and the Danger Zone. Prep is wrapped up, it's 11:30 a.m., the lunch rush is looming, and we are turning up the heat. Now, cooking obviously makes food taste great, but from a safety perspective, it is a massive defensive step. And this brilliantly illustrates our chefs in action, using intense heat as their primary weapon to literally kill live pathogenic bacteria, transforming those risky raw ingredients into a totally safe meal for you.
But they aren't just guessing when the bacteria are finally dead, right? They rely on this magic number, 75 degrees Celsius. That is the absolute minimum core cooking temperature required to wipe out those pathogens in raw meats and poultry. The food handler has to stick a sanitized probe thermometer right into the very center, the absolute thickest part of the meat, just to guarantee it hit that mark.
But think about this. How do they actually know the thermometer isn't lying to them?
A thermometer is only as good as its calibration, so with the pick watching, they do this really clever ice point verification. They whip up an ice slurry, stir the probe around in it, and that digital reading must settle at exactly 0.0 degrees Celsius. The wiggle room is tiny, just plus or minus 1 degree. If it's off, it gets fixed or it gets tossed. Precision is absolutely everything here. Which brings us to part 4, safe display and serving. It's 12:30 p.m. The lunch rush is hitting hard, and the focus shifts out to the dining area and buffet lines. The food is cooked, but guess what? The danger zone is still out there waiting.
For anything that's supposed to be served hot, sitting in a hot hold display or a bain-marie, it has to stay above 64 degrees Celsius. That equipment, it isn't actually there to cook the food. It's literally just holding the line, keeping that temperature safely elevated right above the danger zone's upper limit while it's on display.
And on the flip side, for cold stuff like a salad bar, we're looking at 4 degrees Celsius. Any potentially hazardous food meant to be cold has to be strictly held at 4 degrees or lower. The bottom line is, whether it's hot or cold, the temperature checks do not magically stop when the food leaves the kitchen.
Beyond just temps, there are really strict behavioral rules for the staff out front too. So the crucial point is this first rule: never ever mix food batches. Like, if a tray is running low on the buffet, they absolutely cannot just dump a fresh batch of food right on top of the old stuff. No way. That risks cross-contaminating perfectly fresh food with older food that's been sitting out. They have to pull the empty container, swap in a totally clean one with clean utensils, and at the end of the shift, all that leftover displayed food gets completely discarded.
Finally, Section 5, closing time and cleaning. Fast forward to 10 p.m., the last customer is out the door. The shift is winding down, but the work is definitely not over. Time to deploy the last line of defense against foodborne illnesses.
The guidelines really hammer home this incredibly important distinction: cleaning versus disinfection. Look, cleaning is just getting rid of the visible gross stuff, right? The crumbs, the grease smears. Disinfection, on the other hand, is bringing in the chemicals or the extreme heat to actually kill the invisible microorganisms. And the vital takeaway here is that you literally cannot disinfect a surface if you haven't properly cleaned it first. Excess organic matter will actually just degrade your sanitizing chemicals and render them completely useless.
And that is exactly why the end-of-the-day wipe-down follows a super strict 5-step sequence. First, you sweep or wipe away all the gross material. Second, wash it down with detergents and real physical scrubbing to break up the fats. Third, completely rinse away that soapy mess. Fourth, dry the surface. And only then, at step 5, do you hit it with the disinfectant to kill off the remaining pathogens. This exact, meticulous routine makes sure the kitchen is totally biologically reset for tomorrow morning's crew.
And just like that, our shift is over. From the 7 a.m. loading dock to that final midnight scrub down, it is a completely relentless, highly structured battle against time and temperature. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative question to ponder. The next time you sit down to grab a bite, take a look around. Is your favorite restaurant successfully outsmarting the danger zone today? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep learning.